in the last video, we talked about the structure of Groovepages. So we have at the lowest or the base element is blocks, and then we put containers on top of those, and then we put elements inside the containers. So blocks, containers, and elements. And in this video, I want to talk about breadcrumbs. Okay, breadcrumbs. You say, what are breadcrumbs doing on a web page builder? And so here's the answer. Breadcrumbs are these little words down here at the bottom that tell us exactly where we are in the structure. Okay, so in this case, we have some text here, and this text is inside a container, which is inside a layout 2x2, and these are all elements and containers within the up here, the blocks and the elements and so forth. Okay, so then it's inside a layout 2x2. Let's go click on it again. And it's inside, which is inside a container, which is on the block. And you always have this body over here at the left-hand side. That's basically the entire sort of canvas for the page. So you can't do anything with that. That's the page itself. So on this page, we have a block that has a container, that has a layout, that has a container, that has this text. So this is important because sometimes when you go to manipulate or style an element, if, for example, let's take a look at this. If we were to go over here to mobile, right? And we want to make this responsive. And so it doesn't look bad here. If you look at that, that looks kind of nice. But if you go over here, it's on the left, and you might like that. But if you wanted to center it here, right? One way to do it would be to click on the element itself. This is actually a form submit button in a container, in a layer. You see how many layers are involved in this. That's why we understand that breadcrumbs tell us where we are in the build. So if we want to center this, one thing we could do is we could go to the spacing, and we could just put some space in front of it, right? And we could put it, that's centered. And we go over here and we say, well, that doesn't look too bad, but it's kind of awkwardly placed out here, right? So if we go back, we're going to click on the element again. We're going to go to spacing and remove that. And the breadcrumbs tell us that this form submit is inside a container. And you can see that on your page by this dark highlighted area and then this lighter highlighted area. It might be easier to see over here. So let's go ahead and click out of it. You see nothing. You click on it. It's inside this container. This form submit is in a container. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the container to manipulate where this button is inside the container. What I'm going to do is do that with layout, and I'm going to talk about this in another video, exactly why this works. So now it's centered here, and again, that doesn't look too bad, but if you look over here, it's also centered here. Breadcrumbs is another key to building responsive sites, because when you know what you're editing, let me give you another example. So let's take a look at this image, all right? Let's look at what it would take to resize this image, for example. Let's say we don't like the positioning, or we don't like the size of this. Let's go over and take a look at it in mobile. When I first came into this site, this was set, and I'm going to click, it's inside a container. This was set, let me see it, show you, was set here. Okay. And again, if we don't know what we're editing, we might click on this and we say, you know what, I need to slide that over. So I'm going to put some space in front of it. And we would click here. Again, I'm going to go over this in another video. And we move it and we say, okay, that's pretty centered, right? Sort of. Now we go over here mobile, and look, it's not centered at all, because the spacing that we put in it is different percentage-wise than it would be here. Now, the way to fix that is, instead of manipulating the actual image, we look at the breadcrumbs and we see it's inside a container, and we say, aha, I can go to the container, I can go to layout, and I can set this to centered. Now it's centered here, and it's centered here. So by knowing the breadcrumbs, we know that there's another layer, there's another level that we can edit to make this work the way we want it to. All right, so we have an image inside a container, inside a layout, and so forth. All right, one more thing before we wrap this video up. So let's say you're on an image, and you can see, again, you can see this this lighter outline. So we know that this is inside this. That's what that is telling you. Click on the image. You can see that it's on another one. You can actually go to this secondary container, the one that it's in, by clicking on this up arrow. Now we are in the container. Let me do that again. So you see down here, we have an image and container. If we click on container, see how that changed up there? You can also go up, and you've just gone to the container. And if you want to go to the 2x2, you can keep going up actually until you get to the block, and there's no more up arrow. The block, as we have said in the previous video, is your basic building piece for building up a page. So that is why we need to know breadcrumbs, and they're always at the bottom. As you're building your page, always know what you're actually editing, what element you are actually editing, and what it is in.